PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
She just goes a little mad sometimes.
Do you ever feel like you're normal and the rest of the world has lost its collective mind?
Put your helmet on. We'll be reaching speeds of 3.
Do you find people saying this to you a lot?
Are you totally deranged?
Are you looking for a looking glass to pass through?
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Or looking for a rabbit hole to fall down?
Who could think of a better punishment, really? Everything's the same here, it's just a little worse.
Guess what?
Life's a bitch. Now so am I.
You found it. Welcome to Platinum Rose's Garden.
Hello, my darlings. This is Platinum Rose Lady welcoming you to Platinum Rose's Garden on Saturday, the 27th of April, 2019. Hi. Glad to be back for another week. I'm sorry if I seem a little out of sorts today. I'm not really out of sorts. I mean, nothing terrible's happened or anything like that. I thought I'd be able to do this and not, okay. I actually, okay, first of all, last week was Easter, and I know everybody had talked about that, you know, and then that's obviously a wonderful thing. Every Easter is a wonderful thing. Every day is a wonderful thing, right? Because you never know, right? So since it's not Lent anymore, I don't have to, like, deal with the not swearing anymore thing, so get fucking used to it, because the bitch is back, motherfuckers. This week's been, I warned my husband this was gonna happen. You ever have one of those weeks where it's just really, really been super emotional and you think that you've hit that point where, you know, you turn the crank on the Jack in the Box and it's like making that little song, and then you get to that almost last thing and you slow it down before the Jack in the Box part pops out? That's kind of where I am right now, like nerve-wise. So, between the season finale and dealing with that and, going to see, Avengers Endgame, which was amazing, and seeing the movie that we went to see today, I'm just a little, I'm not my usual bright and sunny self. Sorry. We saw a movie today called Love and Tosha. We were at the Independent Film Festival of Boston, which is going on all over Boston right now. If you are in the Boston area and you like really cool, eclectic, different kind of movies, I would totally recommend going. We went to the Brattle Theater, which is a great theater in Cambridge. Love and Tosha is a documentary about Anton Yelchin. And, I can do this. That was the last little tick that popped up my Jack in the Box. If you get a chance, I hope you get to see this movie, because it is really beautiful and amazing and sad, and like I said, between that and Endgame and the season finale of Supernatural this week, not gonna lie, folks, I'm a fucking mess. You know, it's funny how serendipitous things can be sometimes. Fuck, that's a big word. You can tell I went to college. I joined a couple of Reddit boards recently, and I've been having fun, going around answering questions, listening to other people's, questions and things. And somebody actually put up a question on Reddit about talking to Supernatural fans. It was on a Supernatural board, asking people who are religious, how do you deal with Supernatural? And I was kind of like, at first I was like, okay, I was like, well, gotta be honest. And I wrote down my answer. It's never really bothered me because my whole thing is Supernatural. As much as we love it, we all know it's a work of fiction. And that's not my universe, and that's not, my religion. I keep telling myself that, and so far that's served me pretty okay. Because I was brought up that, God is love, angels are wonderful beings that love God and love man and all this stuff like that, and then along comes Supernatural and punts that out the window with most angels being dicks and God being absent. If you're a deist, you tend to believe that God, set up the universe and then just went, okay, let the clock run as it does, and that was that God doesn't take a hand in changing things or anything like that. And, I still feel that way. I don't feel like watching Supernatural. I don't feel like, oh gosh, they said this, that, and the other thing. I'm so offended. If I know a movie is dealing with faith in a way that's going to offend me, I don't watch it. And I definitely am like, well, I don't watch it, and I'm certainly not going to tell anybody else don't watch it because I'm offended, because that's not who I am. I'm like, well, that bothers me. If you go see it, great. I hope you have a great time. I'm not going to tell people to not do something because it bothers me, but, this week, boy, this week on Supernatural, but we're not there yet. We're not there just yet. Before we get to my review of this week's episode of Supernatural, I do have a story that I would like to recommend y'all to read. Okay, gonna get it together for this. The fic that I would like to talk with you guys about is a fic that I have discovered over on it was written in 2014, so yes, I'm a late bloomer. Ta-da! It's over on an archive of our own, and it is written by an author who I am not using hyperbole when I say that this author is frickin' amazing. Her work is just absolutely transformative. It really is. She is this incredible writer, whose name I'm now going to mangle because I know I am. They go by the online handle of, here we go, Ysabet Wordsmith. That is YSABETWORDSMITH. I'm sure their name means something, deep and important to them, and it's a really neat name. I just don't know what it means, and I know I just probably mangled the heck out of it, so I'm seriously sorry to them if they hear this and they go, what the heck did she do to my name? But the story that she has written, talk about prolific. She has written a ton of stories on, they're available on Archive of Our Own, dealing with all kinds of different, genres and, things from Harry Potter to Calvin and Hobbes to Supernatural to Batman, X-Men, the Marvel movie universe, and, a little bit of everything in between. Definitely go check out her page, and you can go check out all of her work because it is all awesome. But the one story that I want to talk about now combines two of my favorite things. They combine Supernatural and the Marvel movie universe. It is a story called Off the Rack. And I will read you the blurb that she put up to say what the story is about. Dysfunctional family dynamics are a weak spot for Dean Winchester. I won't tell you what the story's about. You have to go read it. But for those of us who have always wondered, and you can't see me, but I'm totally raising my hand. You know, for those of us who have always wondered what exactly finally got Dean to get off of the rack in hell and pick up a knife and become a torturer after 30 years in hell, what was it that Alistair finally put in front of Dean that said, get me off this rack, I want to get at this person? And this is Ysabet's story about what they think caused that to happen. It is amazing. So go read it, go give them some love, save their stuff, tell them you heard about them here on Platinum Rose's Garden, and I actually feel like I'm actually got my shit together enough that I'm going to get to this week's Supernatural episode recap. Hold on to your fucking socks.
Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your...
Season 14, Episode 20 of Supernatural, Moriah. We begin, as we begin every season finale, with the road so far, how we got here, all of the highlights and all of the things that happened in Season 14. And, you know, everything that happened, all of the episodes, highlights from things in different episodes, and it was all really awesome and amazing. And dealing with where we left off, which from last week, which was Jack going into the Malak box and then deciding he didn't want to be in there anymore when he realized Sam and Dean were apparently going to leave him in there until they could find a way to either cure him or kill him. And now we are at now. And now, as I mentioned, is right where we left off. Jack standing in this room facing Sam, Dean, and Cass. The wreckage of the Malak box at his feet. And you just smoke all around. And Jack's eyes are glowing. And this is obviously not fucking good. He just looks at the Winchesters and Cass and says, you know, basically says, like, you lied to me, and throws this blast of power that throws all of them back. And you know that's going to be some pretty powerful shit, since Castiel is an angel and should be able to, you know, withstand, like, a whole lot of shit. When they can move again, Jack's gone. We heard his wings flutter and he's in the wind. Dean, while he still says that he still throws this shit at Cass, because Cass is all like, you know, you shouldn't have tried, you know, you shouldn't have locked him away and all this stuff like that. And Dean's like, you should have told us earlier that you thought something was wrong with him, you know, and, you know, it's what people do sometimes when they're angry at each other about situations that they really have no control over, and it's like, you should. So, there's that, but it quickly fades away, because they know that they can't sit here and tear at each other when Jack's out there in the wind, and who knows what the fuck's gonna happen with him. The thing is, when Dean says that Jack's just another monster, basically, Castiel storms out of the room. And you could just tell Sam's just like, I don't know what he want to say. I mean, Sam looks like I am completely don't know what the fuck to do anymore. Dean's idea about what they need to do about Jack is contact Rowena, see about putting together a soul bomb, even though this is totally killing the both of them, because they both love Jack. Sam and Dean both love Jack I don't know if as a younger brother or something like that. They just care about him. And we know Cass cares about him too. And I'm not saying that in a way that I'm seeing like, oh, Dean's a bad person now and all that. So before the Dean haters, you know, think that they have another person in their army, you don't. So we see Jack walking around a city apparently close to where the Bat Cave is. I don't know. And he's listening to people talk around him. More specifically, he's listening to people lie. You know, he sees people in relationships. He sees people that are obviously divorced with a child, people meeting for the first time on a blind date, blah, 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 and everybody's lying. Not like enormous lies, nothing, you know, but the usual lies that people tell every day to get by, you know. And that's not a very nice thing to think about, the fact that people do tend to lie a lot. And Jack does the one thing that I'm like, oh, good grief, please tell me he didn't just do this. Jack, complete with his eyes flashing that gold color, yells out, stop lying. And everybody just stops for a second as there's this pulse that seems to go everywhere. Now, for those of you who are comics fans and had a flashback to the moment that an unstable Wanda Maximoff said the phrase, no more mutants, you're on the right track. Give yourself a cookie. As it turns out, Rowena is on board with trying to put together a soul bomb to try and control or kill Jack. I'm not really sure which. So we see Sam and Dean in their Fed suits, looking delicious, going into a place that is a facial recognition office. They work with law enforcement to, you know, do the whole thing where you're in a building or whatever, and they do the little dot thing with your face and try and look up to see if you're on any, you know, databases where you shouldn't be because you're doing bad stuff, you know, that kind of shit. The name of this place is Mirror Universe, which is just fucking hilarious. The thing is, while they're in this place, all of a sudden, it's very obvious stuff is not going the way it's supposed to. Dean, putting on his usual kind of charm, walks up to the woman at the desk and shows her his badge and says, my name is Dean Winchester and I'm looking for the Devil's Son. And she looks at him like, what? And he's kind of looking like, what did I just say? And he says it again. My name is Dean Winchester. I'm looking for the Devil's Son. This badge isn't real. And he's kind of like, excuse me, zips back over to Sam. As it turns out, Dean can't lie. And as they suddenly realize when Dean gets Sam to admit that his favorite singer is in fact not Elvis Presley, but is in fact Celine Dion. Okay. I'm not going to judge because it's Sam. I'm also not going to go off in the corner and laugh hysterically while the mic's on. They can't lie. As it turns out, nobody else can either. And because nobody else can lie, there is complete and utter fucking chaos. People are fighting with each other. People are admitting they've had affairs. People are admitting they're thieves. It's just complete and utter lunacy, which is what would happen if people all of a sudden lost the ability to, if not lie, at least fib. I mean, you know, there's a difference between lying, no, I didn't like run over your cat, as opposed to fibbing, no, you look great in that dress. But, you know, either way, if Jack said no more lies, I give out. So there is definite chaos breaking out all over the damn world. We find Castiel, who has shown up in front of some door that's got one of those slidey, old-timey peephole things in it, like they used to use in the speakeasies. Go ask your grandparents. And he knocks on the door. As it turns out, he is speaking with a demon. It's a female demon. He wants to go to hell. I'm like, Cass, you've been to hell before. You didn't need to ask anybody's permission. You just kind of showed up. You know, one of those times was when you boosted Dean. Remember that? As it turns out, Cass is trying to make a deal with this demon to get, not only to get to hell, but to get to a specific part of hell. the part of hell that has the cage in it. That cage, the cage that had Lucifer and Michael, or at least Lucifer in it. We don't know what's happened to Michael. That Michael, not the other Michael, the one that was in Dean. Oh, good grief, I'm making myself confused. Boiling down the whole thing, Castiel wants to go to hell to figure out the cage, because his idea is that they should put Jack in the cage, which is somehow better than putting Jack in the Malak box. I guess your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. I'm confused. The demon, in no uncertain terms, tells Castiel to go fuck himself. And when he turns around to leave, there's Chuck Shirley, also known as God, who tells him, "You guys are screwed." We see Jack showing up at the home of Mrs. Klein, Kelly's mother, also Jack's grandmother, but she doesn't know that. And it seems like, he's just kind of shown up, and he's very pleasant with her at first. As it turns out, the prayer that Castiel had made when he went to that junk store run by Methuselah back in that episode with Anael, that prayer that he made, yeah, it worked. That's why Chuck is here. And Chuck also says that he knows what's been going on, and that, yes, Jack is definitely a problem. Jack, speaking of, is talking with Mrs. Klein, who definitely is not happy to see him, and says that he wants to talk with her mother about Kelly. Mrs. Klein ain't having any of that, though. She says that Jack lied before, that she and her husband have talked to people that worked with Kelly, and Jack's whole story before about how she was on this, important mission and couldn't talk about it and blah, 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 that wasn't true. And she thinks that somehow Jack has hurt Kelly, which is kind of accurate, because he kind of, when he was born, Kelly, died. It wasn't his fault, but he did hurt her. And please, all the Jack fans out there, please don't stone me, but, I am being accurate about this, y'all. She starts screaming at Jack to leave, and Jack tells her to be quiet, and his eyes, do that flashy thing again, and he starts getting upset, and it's like, oh, fuck. We see Chuck and Castiel surveying the chaos in Mirror Universe's office, and find Sam and Dean, who have hidden themselves away in an office. Well, the news is talking about Donald Trump having, announcing that he's got ties with North Korea and Russia, and apparently had a demon deal going with Crowley, and also that the Queen of England is apparently a lizard woman. So all of those conspiracy tinfoil hat people must have been dancing in the motherfucking streets, because apparently this is happening all over the world, this whole thing. We see Jack running away from the Mrs. Klein's house. We don't know what's happened to her. We're hoping that she hasn't been accidentally blipped out of existence. Chuck takes Sam and Dean and Cass back to the Bat Cave, and before that happened, it was pretty funny, because Chuck's whole thing was that, this reminds me of a song, and his guitar comes out of nowhere, and Dean picks up the guitar and smashes the living shit out of it. The thing is, when he starts to kind of verbally rip into Chuck just says, "Don't." And all of a sudden, Chuck's not like this sweet, nebbishy kind of harmless appearing figure. That "don't" turned my blood into ice. It frightened me. So, Rob Benedict, you scared me. You really, really frightened me, Rob. Thanks a lot. You'll be hearing from my therapist. No, I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. Rob, you're amazing. And Chuck, by flicking the radio on and flicking it around to different radio stations, the Winchesters and Cass can hear that, like I said, this is happening all over the world. You know, this honesty, flood, we'll go with flood, is happening everywhere. And Chuck fixes it. He, just does the whole, snaps his fingers. Between Supernatural and the Marvel movie universe, anytime anybody snaps their fingers anymore, I'm gonna be doing a full-on fucking body cringe. Seriously. So with a snap of his fingers, Chuck makes it so that, people can lie again. Yay. And also rewrites time so that nobody remembers what happened, except apparently Sam and Dean and Cass, and everything's back to normal. All of the chaos and breakage and insanity, it's just all gone. All fixed. And Chuck tells them that Jack, he can't put his soul back. He can't just make another soul for him. And that Jack has to be destroyed. And he has to be destroyed with that. And that, as it turns out, is a gun that appears on the table in front of the Winchesters and Cass. It's this, it's a gun. I mean, it's not like a big, howitzer or rifle or anything like that. I don't know fucking shit all about guns, okay? I'm sorry. I don't. I know which end you point at somebody and then you hit the thing and it goes boom. That's it. That's all I know. Guns are way too phallic for me. And way too impersonal. Anyway, the thing is, as it turns out, the gun doesn't fire bullets, and it's also a gun Chuck just brought into existence right then. The thing is, it doesn't fire bullets, it fires, I listened to what Chuck said, but I don't really understand what he said. I was like, I got nothing. Basically it fires energy, I guess, is basically the best way to put it. And it will kill anything. And Jack definitely qualifies as anything. But the problem is, because of course it can't go down easy, that whoever fires the gun, it will kill who's ever being fired at, but it will also kill the person firing the gun, because balance. Because what? Castiel is not accepting any of this at all and just walks away in complete disgust and heartbrokenness. And as I mentioned, Chuck said that, he can't give Jack his soul back because it wouldn't be the same soul, I'm like, okay, well, I don't even know what that means, And none of them are really happy with any of this, to be perfectly honest with you. And so we cut to Jack, who's just walking down a street, and remembering Kelly's mother and what happened, and he wound up not hurting her. He just left. Because when he yelled stop like that, she stopped talking, but I couldn't really tell if it was his powers or if it was just her being afraid of him, because she was all like, what are you, and all this stuff like that. Dean says that he's going to be the one to kill Jack, and he knows that if he does that, that means he's gonna die too. As it turns out, Sam blames himself for all of this, for Jack, for everything that's happened. He says he was the one that brought Jack back, and then when he came back and he burned off his soul to save Sam and Dean, and now Dean, he's like, and you want my permission? You want me to say that I'm cool with losing him and losing you all at once? 'Cause I can't do that. I won't say that, 'cause no. I've already lost too much. And I really can't blame Sam for feeling that way. And it's like, Dean, you're really going to expect him to go like, yeah, okay, fine, go kill yourself. I'm fine with that. What? Did you really think he was going to be fine with that? Seriously? I mean, I know nobody's really thinking in their right mind at this point, but really? We see Castiel driving, he drives to a cemetery, which I'm assuming must be relatively close by. I don't really know. And after, he's just kind of standing there and just, you know, you can tell he's thinking about everything and all this shit. And he just pounds on the hood of the car for a moment in anger, and all of a sudden Jack's there. And, we cut back to Sam, who's talking with Chuck about what Michael had said before, about what Michael had told them about the fact that God is, that God is an author, and that he'll write for a while. By writing, I mean create a universe, and then he'll get bored with it, or he won't like the way it's going, and he'll just move on to another universe. And Sam asks Chuck about that. Is that true? And Chuck tells him that it's true. That there are multiverses out there. He tells him that there's all kinds of other universes out there. That, there's universes where everything's reversed. There's a universe where there's no yellow. Huh? There's a universe where everything is squirrels. I'm like, everything? Every single planet has nothing but squirrels on it? Really? I mean, I'm thinking to myself, what? And apparently on all of these other universes, there's another Earth and there's another Sam and Dean and all this stuff like that. But that this Earth is his favorite show, that Sam and Dean's story is his favorite show, and that Sam and Dean, that universe is Sam and Dean, I don't know how to word this, I'm making myself cross-eyed, are his favorite ones. Back in the cemetery, Jack is sitting there talking with Castiel, and Jack says that he finally says the words, that he can't feel anything anymore. His soul is gone. So you have a being that has the power that Jack has that does not have a soul. And he can't feel. He can't feel right or wrong. He can't feel pity or fear or joy or sadness or anything. But he does say that he didn't hurt Kelly's mother, which is obviously a good thing. Back in the Batcave, Chuck says that he watches over the Winchesters, but not like watches over, like watching over them like, oh, they've done something wrong, or they're in danger and I have to help them. That he only seems to help them when they're in danger of completely ruining his watching experience, basically. And Sam pretty much lashes out at that, that all of the things that they've been through, all the suffering that Sam and Dean have had to go through, all of the loss that they've faced, all of the physical, emotional, mental pain they've gone through. And Chuck just lets them because they're his favorite show. And Sam actually brings up that Chuck, he says that he thinks Chuck is afraid of Jack. And Chuck pretty much says back to Sam that Sam should be too. He says, aren't you? And, or something to that effect. And Chuck also says that he knows where Jack is, and that Dean has already left to go deal with Jack. So we cut back to Jack and Castiel in the cemetery, and they're still, they're talking with each other. And Castiel still, after everything, after all of the stuff that they've been through and everything like that, he still wants, he doesn't want to lose this boy. Because that's what he is. He's a boy. He's a child. I mean, I know Jack looks like, a young adult, but he's a child. Unfortunately, now he's a child that has all of these amazing powers and doesn't really have the anchor that a soul would provide that would keep stuff like him having these powers safe, obviously. I mean, he just threw the whole world into chaos for a few minutes because he told everybody to stop lying. They both realize that Dean has shown up, and Dean is there with this gun. Castiel stands up and puts his own body between Dean and Jack. And he tells Jack to run, but Jack won't. He says that he can't, and then tosses Castiel to the side. I was kind of like, not a gentle toss to the side either. It was pretty violent. I was kind of like, okay, way to show gratitude to somebody who was trying to save you there, sunshine. Dean takes the gun, aims it at Jack, and Jack doesn't fight back, doesn't do anything. He just kneels on the ground and looks up at Dean. He's waiting to die. And Dean is standing over him with the gun as Sam pulls up and runs to Dean. He's yelling Dean's name. He's screaming Dean's name to stop. And all of a sudden, Chuck has just appeared there as well. Jack basically tells Dean to do it, to kill him, because Jack realizes that now he's a monster, and it would be right for Dean to kill him. And Dean takes the gun, as he has the gun in his hands, has it aimed at Jack's head, cocks the gun back, and is standing there looking down at this boy that he taught how to drive, that he taught to do all the things that an older brother would teach a younger brother. This boy that inadvertently killed his own mother. And I mean Dean's mother, Mary, obviously. And you can tell there's so much anger still in Dean and so much rage, but there's something else there. And that something else makes Dean lower the gun, uncock it, and drop it. Chuck, now at this point, I'm thinking to myself that Chuck's gonna be like all happy and be like, yay, you passed the test, and give Jack his soul back and everything will be great. This is apparently why I don't write Supernatural, because all that's in my head is duckies and bunnies and rainbows, and I want everybody to be okay, but fuck me and what I want, right? Because Chuck, God, the creator of all of us, who I've always been told God is love, God loves us, God wants the best for us, God tells Dean to pick the gun up and to shoot Jack. And Sam basically tells Dean that, this whole thing, this is Chuck's story, that he's been playing them this whole time. That because of all of the terrible things that have happened to Sam and Dean, they're because of Chuck, because he's written their story. And Chuck's response to that is to say that Sam is stupid and crazy, and to say that Jack is still a danger, and he tells Dean to pick the gun up and to shoot Jack, and that if he does that, he'll bring Mary back. And Dean says no. Dean says his mother was his hero and he'll miss her for the rest of his life, but there is no way she would want to come back at the cost of Jack's life, and not like this. And not like Chuck really even cares. Because what Sam said was true. That all of the things that have happened, the first time with the apocalypse, all of the other shit, the stuff with the Leviathans, the stuff with Amara, the stuff with Lucifer and Michael from, the Michael from the other universe and all that shit, that Chuck knew it was going on. And if he wanted it stopped so badly, why didn't he just use his powers and snap his fingers and put everything to right? Because he didn't. Because he wanted to watch the Winchesters deal with it. Because that's his favorite show. And Dean tells Chuck that they're done talking and actually says, so God or no God, you go to hell. And I'm just like, what? Chuck's response to that is to say, have it your way. And he snaps his fingers, and all of a sudden Jack starts to scream, and there's white light pouring out of his eyes, out of his mouth, and he's in complete agony. Dean charges at Chuck, and Chuck just raises a hand and tosses Dean through a gravestone, which somehow does not kill Dean, or at least break his back. Not that I wanted either thing to happen. And Sam picks up the gun that Dean dropped and shoots at Chuck, and the screen goes black. Now, I'm sitting there, and I was so stunned that Sam shot at Chuck that it didn't occur to me, wait a minute, that means that the gun, the person who shot it's gonna die. Sam? I'm completely freaking the hell out right now. We cut back, and we come back from commercial, and we're right where we were. Sam calling Chuck's name and shooting, and Sam falls to the ground, but he's not dead. Which is obviously a very good thing, but he's not dead. Chuck is also not even wounded by this. If anything, he just looks irritated. And he says that if that's the way the Winchesters want it, that the story is over. And Chuck says, welcome to the end. And all of a sudden, a whole bunch of things start happening all at once. And, including, I'm pretty sure Chuck snapped his fingers, and then all of a sudden he's gone, and it's super dark. It was daylight, now it's like super dark. Castiel has crawled over to Jack's, oh crap, to Jack's body, lying there with his eyes burned out, and he's dead. And them trying, the Winchesters and Cass trying to figure out what to do and what they need to do, what they can do to fix this. And Castiel being like, talking about Chuck being like, he's a writer, writers lie. We see Jack lying on a dark surface, and we realize when he wakes that when he comes to, he looks okay. He doesn't look any different. He's in the empty with that thing. At least I'm assuming it's that thing. I'm assuming the creature standing over him is the entity that we saw before, the shadow, the whatever the fuck you call it. And we're assuming that it's not Lucifer. I'm hoping it's not Lucifer. Somehow it's just really kind of ridiculous to think that this cosmic entity thing is something that I would want there more than Lucifer. But it is. And Jack is like looking up at this figure that makes a motion with its hand, and all of a sudden its blank face has a smile on it, and Jack's trying to figure out where he is, and there's somebody behind him, and we realize it's Billy. Jack asks what's happening, and Billy's response to that is, yeah, about that. We should talk. And on Earth, the ground starts to shake, and we start seeing these lights exploding up from under the ground, Castiel realizes what they are. They're souls. They're souls escaping from hell, or being let free from hell. And we see things happening other places that the Winchesters aren't, and we realize what it is. Ghosts are coming back. Ghosts that the Winchesters put down. We see Mary Worthington, the girl from Bloody Mary. We see Constance Welch, the woman in white from the pilot episode. We see the ghost of John Wayne Gacy, who we had seen earlier on in one of the earlier episodes from this season. And he shows up at a birthday party in his clown outfit. And the Winchesters and Cass realize that this is what God meant by the end. They're surrounded by these zombies. I don't know what else to call them. They're not ghosts. They're definitely solid. So I don't know if they're evil spirits possessing the bodies of the dead that were in the cemetery, or if these are the people that actually died and they've come back in their rotted bodies, or what. I don't know. I'm completely freaking out. And, Cass has his angel blade. Dean manages to break off a couple of pieces of iron from one of the gates in the cemetery, and Sam, Dean, and Cass are all in this tight circle as they're being surrounded by these zombies or attacking spirits or whatever the fuck they are, and the season ends on that imagery. The screen goes dark. And while all of this stuff is going on, the song that is playing in the background is a song called God Was Never On Your Side, which is from Motorhead. And the episode ends. Okay. Yeah, so this was the starting off the middle part of my week on the roller coaster of tears that I've been going on pretty much ever since then. Holy shit. I give Moriah 5 bouquets out of 5. Wow. Absolutely terrifying. Funny stuff at the beginning of this episode, but absolutely by the end of it, I was on the edge of my chair, completely freaked the fuck out. As I mentioned, and the thing is, I know a lot of people are angry. A lot of people are really like, oh, they ruined the show. They undid everything that they did from earlier, blah, blah, blah. I don't feel like they did. I feel like it's going to lead into an amazing season 15. I also feel like people who are like, oh, they're targeting Christians. They're attacking Christianity, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you can look at it that way, or you can look at it as it's a fictional show that decided to not do a make-up religion and decided to be a little more grounded. And it's a fake religion, not a fake religion, obviously, but it's a fictional show in another universe. Calm down. I'm just saying, and I mean, am I happy about the way that they portray God in this universe? No, not really. But not my universe, not my God. That's the way I look at it. I'm sorry. And if some people are like, oh, you're taking the easy way out, blah, blah, blah. It's a fictional story. It's not real. I'm sorry. That's just the way I feel, and if I'm wrong, PlatinumRoselle@yahoo.com, tell me I'm full of shit if you want to. I thought it was just incredible. I thought it was amazing. I am so looking forward to season 15. I mean, it's going to be so fucking weird when Supernatural comes back in the fall, whenever that's going to be in the fall. And, they have the little thing on the, Supernatural, the final season. That is going to fuck me up. Not going to lie. That is going to really, 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 really fuck me up. And since I'm already fucked up enough as it is, what are you going to do? I like I said, I enjoyed this episode. I thought it was great. I've enjoyed season 14. In fact, if you guys thought that this was the last time you were going to hear from me, oh, no. Au contraire, mon frère. I am going to be back next week with one more episode for this season, where I'm going to be taking a look back at season 14, and just kind of talking about the season and where I felt like things were going, what I felt worked, and so on and so forth. So hopefully you guys will come back next week and check out my next show. Okay, that, cats and kittens, is going to wrap things up here on Platinum Rose's Garden for this week. If you have any comments, questions, queries, complaints, money, anything you'd like to send my way, platinumroselle@yahoo.com. And I would also like to say a big shout out to some friends of mine, my friend Nicholas and my friend Lawrence, and also Chris. Thank you for listening to the show, you guys. That means a lot to me, and I hope you enjoyed it. And also, if you'd like me to give you a shout out, just send your name along. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can follow me at platinumroselady@twitter.com. I hope you will check out the other shows that are part of our little island of misfit toys, including Subject Cinema, 3-Minute Weekend, Tuesday Digidex, Front Row 5 and 10, Kaiju Corner, which is my Patreon show. You can donate to Patreon and you get to listen to it. Ring Around the Rosie, Cavebabble, and our buddy Anthony Lamberti, who has a YouTube channel you can check out over there as well. Please like, share, and subscribe to all of our stuff. I'm going to be setting up a petition in the next couple of weeks. I hope you guys will come and sign it once it's up. I'm going to talk about that a little more next week once I get it going. I have to figure out what needs to get done to get it happening, because it's computer stuff and that's hard. So I will come back next week and talk to you again. And this is Platinum Rose Lady signing off for another week, reminding you to love the ones you hug the ones you love, take some time to stop and smell the roses, and if you haven't seen Avengers Endgame yet, why the fuck not? Go! Now! Not kidding.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.